students were rather interested in copying this painting, something I did many, many years ago. It's a jam jar. It's done in a very loose, almost abstract form. It's a jam jar containing some grasses. And the light is coming from this direction. So I'm just going to do a little version of it as a demonstration to show them how to get started. So what I would do is start off first with the jam jar. And if you've got questions, ladies, do feel free to ask. I'm just using what I've got in my palette, basically. So I've got some leftover murky grey brown there. So, and I'm happen to be using a number 10. So I'm going to start, I just need to have the painting in front of me to remind me what I'm doing. Right, so I'm going to just start off with a rim. Just got some more water on my brush, and I'm just going to, a bit too dark, so let's just soften that off. And I want to leave some highlights. So I'm doing it in lots of little dots and dashes, really. Now, my rim is wider than my base, which wasn't very clever. But what we can do is just extend it a little bit, because you get refraction, don't you? You get illusions of things when you're looking through glass. And just put just a few lines in, just to tell myself where it is. And I'm just going to lift some of that out because I don't want to get too dark. And that there has gone too wide, so we'll just lift that out. Okay, I'm going to mark in the table area that is behind. I'm going to just pick up a bit of something else on my palette as a colour. The colours are just all crazy abstract, it doesn't matter. So this is sort of the edge of the table, and it will be slightly different looking through the glass. There'll be some distortion. Then I pick up the table edge on the other side. And just grab some water. And just bring it out and smudge a little bit in there. Okay, now the backgrounds we've got here, I made it very dark that side, of course the light is coming that way. I can't remember what I used, it looks like a Prussian. I've got some yellowy colours, some lime green there. So let's just play. Let's see what we've got on my palette. I rather like that orange sitting up there. What do you reckon, ladies? You fancy that?
Oh, I do.
Okay, well let's go in this corner, and let's just, in fact, let's get a bigger brush. And we'll just bung some in. And we want then a complementary colour in the other, oops, there's a hair, corner. Let's have a sort of bit of purpley colour. Ooh, it's pretty. And we'll go over the table as well. And they're nice. I mean, this was something that just came out of my head, or something I'd seen somewhere, I can't remember. But it's quite nice to do things like this occasionally, just as a practice piece, and also as a practice piece and a bit of warming up exercise. Okay, let's just take a bit of the colour off, get a bit of texture in there, because we can drop other colours in. Okay, so where do you think we should go next, Christine?
Possibly the darker bit down here.
Get a bit more paint on the. Yeah, well, we will have some shadow cast. The light's coming this way through this jam jar, won't we? So let's just put a bit of something like that. How's that?
That looks good.
Okay. What about putting in, we want some more colour up here, do you think? What do you reckon? And that needs to be darker. Certainly in this one, we went a whole lot darker, didn't we? So I'll go a bit darker here. I've just mixed a bit of alizarin with some cerulean. And I'm just going to let that run, which is what I was doing with that previously. Just let it happen. Just go round that jar a little bit, just to... And by putting a dark line there, in fact, it would have been nicer if that hadn't met that grey, because then that would have given me the edge of the glass jar. Let's see if I can push it out. I probably can. If I go in now, what to do in this situation? Okay, I should have left that line, that white line, completely white, but my paint went. So what I'm going to do is put that back in.
That's brilliant.
And add it a bit darker when it's dried, but also make that a bit darker. So you retrieve it. Okay, it's not as bright as white up there because it has had some paint on it, but you are retrieving the situation. You're rescuing it, as it were. And this is a very loose, fluid painting anyway, so we're not going to be getting too distressed about it. Okay, so what do you think next, Joanne? Any thoughts?
I'd like to see this background worked.
That background worked in what way? A bit more colour, sort of just dropped in.
Up how on here we've got that introducing of there's the blue on that side, the green.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think it's not a complementary opposite, is it? Blue to green, but anyway, I just think over this side now we need some contrast.
Right.
So something in here.
Okay, right. Okay, let us continue that along a bit, but let it go a bit more to the blue.
Which I don't know where.
For remembering your complementaries, it is red and green and purple and yellow, I think.
It is.
Now you're asking me. That's showing a gap, isn't it, there for me for a minute?
It's beginners who have to worry about what they are. When you know what you're doing, you don't have to remember these things. But yeah.
But that needs a bit more of the red in so that it marries. But we also need something through here. So we've got to have a little bit of that.
That's your split complementary that you've done there, your purpley colour across to the blue.
To the blue, yeah.
Which works.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Because that was something that I wanted to learn a little, to practice, was my colour theory.
Okay, and let's put a little bit of that red, a colour, showing through.
Because it would also be picking up the reflection, wouldn't
yeah,
it?
okay.
That looks good. Coming along nicely, Nicola.
Thank you. It's always such a relief when that happens. Nothing like live art.
Mm.
Now this is getting quite interesting because we're getting some lovely marks. I like these blooms. I'm quite happy with things like that because it's just fun. Let's just drop a bit more blue in. But I want to get more of this ending up we're going to end up with a bit of a mud if we're not careful. Let's just bring that.
Bit of yellow now.
Yeah. We've got some interesting colour separation
lovely,
here. That's rather nice.
Yeah,
I quite like that.
Looks like an aged wall.
Yeah. Bit of distressed plaster work.
Plenty of that around the village.
Absolutely. You ought to see my house. Just drop what's lurking there. Okay, so I think we'll let that dry, ladies, and come back to it in a bit. Any questions at this stage?
No.
No? Okay.
Absolutely not.
Let's leave that for a minute and then we'll come back. So this has dried off. So I'm going to start putting some of the grasses in now. And I'm very pleased actually with how it's dried off. I really do like to see these blooms. What do you think, girls?
They're beautiful.
Yeah?
Completely, by mistake if you like, but
Yeah, well, it's,
come
you
out
see,
perfectly.
yeah, this is just letting the paints play on the paper. And Christine, you started with yours, haven't you? Let's
Yes,
have a look
I
at how yours is doing. Yeah, that's coming. I like the colours you've used. And you could probably actually, if you go down there with the clean water on your brush, you could probably straighten that line up. Okay, it's a bit raggy. I know it's the texture of the paper, but if you just go down there carefully with clean water just to get the blue in a straight line, that would probably do. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some of the grasses in. So I'm going to, where am I going to have them going? Well, I want a few up there in that space. So let's just, oh, somebody's phone. Now, okay, so that's going to go down into the jar. I think I need a smaller brush. Okay, just soften that out a bit. I didn't like that mark, so I'm lifting it virtually out and I'm going to go to a smaller brush. Thank you. Let's see, what have we got? That one will do. Number 7. It's a cheap and cheerful brush, but it'll do. Right. So we're going to get a bit of distortion round. Get some paint on, it would help. Round there. Okay, we can fiddle about with these as we like. I think it's easier to come up this way. So you've got that, the glass, when you're looking at things through glass, there's a bit of distortion. So let's do that. So let's just thicken that up. No, I actually quite like that. And we're going to have some sort of, I don't know what colour this is, I'm using what's in my murky palette. Let's just make it a bit greener. And we've got some dead sort of grassy bits.
It's a good technique.
No, that's letting the brush do the work.
Yes, now I do this a lot. I'm glad you pointed that out. Thank you, Christine. Yeah, if you if you want some unusual marks, and also if you just take the brush and just press it down twist it. You'll also move the pigment about. I mean, I haven't got a lot of pigment on this brush and a lot of paint or wash, but you can sometimes move it about. Let me load the brush a bit more. See if I can show you a bit better. There you go. Okay, so it's dumped a lot of paint there, but that's okay because these are sort of raggedy bits of grass that have dried up, or bits of leaves, or something like that. So yeah, just twisting the brush, you can get some really nice effects. I often do it when I'm doing branches and things like that. So let's just put a few leaves on the top of this stem, and I'll have to put a bit more pigment in because that's darker. I mean, this is just a fun little piece. It's nothing particularly special. Now, let us go back to this orangey colour. Oh, clean brush would help. I've added a bit more yellow because then it gives me the cohesion. Okay, let the brush do the work. Quite nice. I have no idea what I am doing. I'm just literally making marks and shapes. But I quite like that. I like these leaves. What do you reckon to the leaves?
Lovely.
Do you think we need any more stems as well? A few more, or what do you reckon?
I think perhaps a few more stems in the water.
Yeah, okay.
It's a bit darker here. I think.
Yeah, and also I haven't actually put any water in that jar. So what I'm going to do is, with a bit of the purpley colour, that is nearly all you need.
It's just an indication of a waterline.
It is, and the curve at the back. Now that works for me. Okay, so we need those stems a bit darker in the water, I think. This will now run because that is damp. It'll bleed, but I'm not too bothered. Because that gives you the distortion in the water. Okay, so now I think I can do some more work on the flowers and the stalks at my leisure, but what I do want to do is just sharpen up a little bit round the jar. So I'm just going to put another little line just to add a bit more, give the brain a bit more of a clue of what's going on. And we had that problem down there, didn't we? So I'm going to just go down there with a bit darker colour. And if you press the brush down, most of the colour's in the point, so it's water up here. So if you do that, you're going to get a fairly even shaded area. Let's put a bit more in there, a bit more there. Just rinse the brush off, take the excess water off, and just soften that and let it play. Of course, this is all about loose movements of water and paint. And we need to make that glass look as if it's solid by putting a bit more in. And what I will do, I will finish this off camera I think, is just a bit more work on the twiggy things and possibly try and tidy that line up there a bit, and I need to push that blue a bit further to show the edge of the jar. So that's another little lecture, and you're going back to yours because you've got some nice, lovely colour, lovely movement here, and we'll have a look at that in a few more minutes. Thank you very much.